from a mixed marriage, mixed in the Jewish context. So it means that my mother is Jewish and her both parents were Jewish, and my father is Polish. And so because of a complicated family story, I have few stepsisters from both sides. So it means I have a Jewish sister and a non-Jewish sister. My Jewish grandparents, they survived the war. One of them, the grandfather, he stayed hiding around Warsaw. And my grandmother, she spent the war in Kazakhstan. She was a doctor. And right after the war, she came back. They met, and they decided to stay in Poland. First in Łódź, then they moved to Warsaw. You know, things changed after the war, and from the stories that I heard from my mother, it was a kind of an atmosphere of like keeping things in a secret room. My grandfather had his own room, he would lock it with a key, and he would have all these weird books in there. But they didn't celebrate any Jewish holidays. My mother was born in 48. And my grandmother, she was a doctor and an atheist, so she didn't have this kind of religious engagement. So after the war, when my mother was born and all her life, there were not really any Jewish celebrations. But it was communist Poland, so you know, the focus was more on other things than keeping traditions. There were new traditions to keep, and so yes, but you're probably asking about other things as well, like not only celebrating Jewish holidays, but keeping connection with being Jewish. So I would say that yes, that's what my mother says, that it was a subject, it was a topic that they would discuss, and most of the family, all the brothers and sisters of both my grandmother and my grandfather, they left. Most of them, they left before the war. And so there was family in Israel, family in Sweden, in France, in America. So you couldn't really disconnect from the Jewish narrative, because that was their family, his story. And so there were letters coming from Israel and updates, what's going on. And even my grandmother in the 50s, she went to Israel. She took the ship, and she went there to visit her brothers and sisters. Now I can tell you about my mother, because both my grandparents died in the year that I was born. So I never had a chance to talk to them. But when you look at my mother, that she's not really celebrating any holidays or not doing anything specifically Jewish, but when you look at her bookshelf or look at the articles she keeps from the newspapers and the things that she gets involved in, like talking with people, they're very Jewish things and very Jewish topics, and it's a connection, but not really through tradition. Although she knows, I don't know how, but she knows things, like never really exploring it, and not really keeping it. She has the knowledge of Jewish holidays or biblical stories. So it's somewhere there in the head, you know. The important things in her life at that time were here, and that all the reasons to stay were bigger than the fear, or you know, the reason that other people are leaving. She was in love. Her boyfriend was here. It was also about the parents that she didn't want to leave her father, especially because he felt like whatever happens, he's staying. There were enough reasons for her to not even consider leaving. It wasn't a pleasant time, but also like she wasn't in a situation that she lost everything. Like there were people who lost their jobs and were really like, didn't really have much choice, and she had a choice, and she was in love and had her friends here, so she didn't want